And let me tell you something wild, because this story isn't just about Meghan Markle. It's about an empire, a reputation, and a streaming giant that thought they were buying royalty but ended up with a sinking ship. Netflix walked into this deal imagining they were partnering with Hollywood royalty, a woman who had broken free of the monarchy and promised to redefine modern celebrity. But what they got was a financial black hole that's left executives scrambling. A fiasco that has industry insiders whispering about the beginning of the end for Meghan's Hollywood reign. What was supposed to be her glittering rebirth is now playing out like a cautionary tale. And the deeper you look, the messier it gets. Because this isn't just about ratings and viewership, it's about image, money, power, and the brutal reality of an industry that built people up only to tear them down when the numbers dainty match the hype. Meghan Markle walked into this deal as a cultural juggernaut, a global figure fresh off a royal exit that captivated the world, with millions watching her every move. And Netflix executives were convinced they had a once-in-a-lifetime star in their hands. Someone who could rival Oprah Winfrey. Someone who could bring prestige documentaries, lifestyle content, and original shows that would redefine the platform's cultural influence. But behind the scenes, the deal was always a gamble. A high-stakes bet on brand power rather than proven creative ability. And now, years later, that gamble is looking like one of the most expensive miscalculations Netflix has ever made. See, the story begins back when Meghan and Harry made their historic break from the royal family, a dramatic departure filled with interviews, tell-alls, and their famous sit-down with Oprah, which captivated a worldwide audience. And Netflix executives saw this moment as an opportunity to cash in on the frenzy, cutting a deal that reportedly promised Meghan and Harry upwards of $100 million over time. A deal that came with incredible creative freedom, unheard-of production budgets, and a PR machine ready to paint Meghan as the new voice of modern royalty. The partnership was announced with all the glitz and glamour Hollywood could offer. Red carpets, glowing press releases, and bold promises that this would be more than just entertainment. This would be culture. Defining storytelling. A narrative empire built around a woman who had captured the world's fascination. But here's the twist that no one could ignore. For all the talk, for all the excitement, for all the headlines, the actual content wasn't living up to the hype. Meghan's first few projects had mixed reviews, some initial buzz, and yes, a few spikes in viewership thanks to curiosity. But curiosity fades fast in a market where attention spans are short. And by the time With Love, Meghan hit the platform, the cracks were starting to show. Yet Netflix doubled down, marketing the series like a crown jewel, insisting it was a smash hit, plastering Meghan's face across billboards and press junkets, and hyping up season 2 like it was proof of her unstoppable brand power. But behind the curtain, there was a secret Netflix didn't want anyone to know. There was no real second season. It wasn't a true continuation. It was simply leftovers, B-roll, and unused footage repackaged as fresh content. And while that strategy might have fooled audiences once, it didn't work twice. Viewers weren't impressed, ratings nosedived, and the data painted a brutal picture. Meghan Markle, once seen as Netflix's golden ticket, was quickly becoming a liability, and the executives knew they had to act fast. What followed was a series of cold, calculated decisions that shocked even Hollywood insiders. Because Netflix isn't known for cutting its losses so quickly on big-name deals. But this was different. The numbers were catastrophic. Viewership wasn't just low, it was a disaster. And the platform was staring down losses that would eventually total around $25 million just from this project alone, when you factor in marketing, reshoots, production overruns, and abandoned promotional campaigns. Netflix had to pull the plug, not just on future plans for With Love, Meghan, but on Meghan Markle as a streaming powerhouse. Contracts that once promised millions were quietly renegotiated, payouts were slashed, and in some cases, entire shows were axed before cameras even started rolling. Like her untitled travel series that was supposed to rebrand Meghan as a global ambassador of culture. A series that had a $2.5 million price tag attached to it before Netflix pulled the rug out from under her, dropping the payout to just $450,000, a fraction of what was promised. Another high-profile holiday special that Meghan had been banking on for exposure and income was gutted as well. Its original $5 million budget slashed down to under $1 million, leaving Meghan's team stunned and scrambling. The fallout behind the scenes was explosive, with sources saying Meghan personally confronted Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos in a heated exchange that reportedly turned emotional and accusatory, Meghan allegedly accusing him of caving to boardroom politics and selling her out. while Netflix executives quietly insisted they were simply following the numbers, protecting shareholders, and cutting ties with projects that weren't delivering returns. Insiders described Meghan as furious, blindsided, and humiliated. Because this wasn't just about money, this was about her image, her Hollywood credibility, and her dream of building an Oprah-level media empire, a dream that was now collapsing in real time. Netflix, meanwhile, was in full-on damage control mode, quietly reallocating funds that had once been earmarked for Meghan's content to bankable projects like Stranger Things, The Crown, and other flagship shows. Essentially admitting without saying a word that Meghan's brand wasn't worth the risk anymore. And this is where things get even darker for Meghan, because the entertainment industry is like a shark tank, and once blood is in the water, the entire ecosystem reacts. Studio execs, producers, and agents have all been watching this saga unfold. And what they see is a narrative shift happening around Meghan's name. A shift from global star to high-risk investment, and that's poison in Hollywood. Already there are whispers that Meghan's reputation behind the scenes is making her even harder to work with some insiders describing her as overly controlling, perfectionist to the point of paralysis, and resistant to feedback, a creative force that demands total control over lighting setups, script rewrites, and even minor camera angles. And while that kind of behavior is tolerated for A-list legends, it's seen as a massive red flag when the results aren't living up to the hype. This perception is only making it harder for Meghan to land new deals, and the timing couldn't be worse. Because with Netflix scaling back her involvement, she's losing her primary financial pipeline, the very income she had planned to reinvest into launching her own media company. That company was supposed to be her answer to the backlash, a way for Meghan to reclaim her narrative, own her content, and bypass traditional gatekeepers. But now that vision is on hold, and she's been forced to look elsewhere for funding, quietly shopping around new unscripted projects to rival platforms like Amazon Prime, Hulu, and Apple TV. But so far, there are no takers, and industry insiders are openly saying that this isn't just a bump in the road, it's a full-blown brand crisis. Behind closed doors, Netflix has already made it clear they don't see Meghan as a core partner anymore, with multiple insiders claiming the company has no intention of renewing her contract once the current slate of projects wraps up. And while that hasn't been officially announced, all signs point to a cold, strategic exit. Which is why Meghan's team is now going on the offensive, leaking stories to sympathetic outlets, spinning the narrative that Netflix set her up to fail, that they never fully supported her creative vision, and that she was a victim of corporate politics. But here's the problem with that spin. Netflix gave Meghan near unprecedented freedom, handing her full creative control, massive budgets, and top-tier production talent, which makes it hard to argue she wasn't given a fair shot. This is why even some of Meghan's most loyal supporters are starting to waver, because the numbers don't lie, and audiences just aren't tuning in the way they used to. The buzz that once surrounded Meghan's every move is fading, and even the headlines she's been generating lately feel more like damage control than cultural moments. Her fan base, once fiercely protective, is now split, with some arguing she's being unfairly targeted by a ruthless industry and others admitting that her projects just aren't resonating. And that's the brutal truth Meghan is facing right now. Hollywood doesn't care about sympathy. It cares about numbers, and the numbers are telling a story Meghan never wanted to be part of. Insiders say this reality has shaken Meghan deeply, and that she's been working tirelessly behind the scenes to reinvent herself yet again. Reaching out to private investors, exploring partnerships with YouTube-based production companies, and brainstorming new concepts that might finally reconnect her with audiences. But so far, nothing has landed, and the industry is watching closely, hesitant to be the first to take a gamble on a name that's quickly becoming synonymous with high costs and low returns. Even the feud between Meghan and Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos has become Hollywood legend, with multiple sources saying their last meeting was tense to the point of being a breaking point. Meghan reportedly questioning his loyalty, accusing him of humiliating her, and storming out of the room. And for Netflix, that was the final straw. Because no matter how famous someone is, no one is worth this much drama when the content isn't delivering. Now Netflix's focus is entirely on damage control, quietly erasing Meghan's presence from internal promotion calendars, cutting back on marketing campaigns, and rechanneling funds to more stable, profitable ventures, effectively phasing her out without making a public spectacle of it. And this, perhaps, is the cruelest twist of all, because Meghan Markle, once one of the most talked about women on the planet, is now in danger of becoming irrelevant, not because of scandal, not because of a major controversy, but because Hollywood has simply decided she's not worth the investment anymore. This is how the industry works. This is how fast it moves, and Meghan is learning firsthand that fame, even royal fame, doesn't guarantee longevity. What happens next is a mystery, but what's clear is that Meghan's entire brand is at a crossroads. And for the first time since she stepped away from the royal family, the question isn't just whether she can bounce back, it's whether anyone in Hollywood is willing to take that bet. Because right now, Meghan Markle isn't just a celebrity facing a rough patch. She's a cautionary tale of what happens when hype, politics, and ambition collide in the unforgiving world of streaming entertainment.